It doesn't look like we're in Jersey anymore. Also, who the heck is that cockroach? DC Universe's Doom Patrol, Season 1, Episode 5, Review and Breakdown. Hey y'all, it's your Twisted Girl next door here, and today I am doing a review and breakdown of DC Universe's Doom Patrol, Season 1, Episode 5. Okay, so if you're new here, this is the way it goes. I give my overall thoughts of the episode, the happenings, as in what happened in the episode, and my thoughts about that. Ship talk, because I do like talking about relationships, predictions, and finally, because this is based off of comic book characters, I do comic book talk. Overall, this episode, I really enjoyed it, actually. It was scattered, but not in a bad way. Like, last episode felt kind of scattered, like I said, but this episode felt like it was sort of all over the place, but in an awesome, chaotic sort of way. And everything kind of just gelled in this weird, outrageous kind of cosmic awesomeness of just finally getting into the groove of how weird this universe is of Doom Patrol, and I really enjoyed that. There were also some heartfelt moments. We got Chief back, and I think this episode really drove home that family, weird, dysfunctional dynamic that the Doom Patrol will ultimately really find themselves in eventually, hopefully. We also got the return of Mr. Nobody, because I totally missed him. Yes. Also, if you're like me and was wondering who the heck that cockroach is that keeps kind of coming back in, I'm going to give a little bonus tidbit about that character, so stick around for that. It's the end of the world, and the D-Creator is totally rapturing, like, a lot of people and things. So like we saw the last episode, they totally failed in not being able to thwart the D-Creator from being formed. A big eye in the sky was the D-Creator, and basically a lot of people started getting raptured. Because of this, we saw the return of Mr. Nobody, who was determined to not have the world end on his clock, and also Chief, who he has been holding captive and spinning around in some really weird white blank space for who knows how long, obviously the last 4 episodes. Mr. Nobody and Chief form a plan to go back in time in Crazy Jane's plotline or her life and find the personality that they think can create a counter cult to the cult of the unwritten book. From this, we get a glimpse of some more personalities of Jane. Also, we find out that the original personality, who she started off with, was named Kay. We get the new personality, or new to us, Dr. Harrison, who basically has the power to, through charisma and all of that jazz of great talking, kind of what's associated with cult leaders and or politicians. So Mr. Nobody goes back to recruit her to create the cult of the Recreator and the rewritten book. For a short time, we get Chief reunited with the rest of Doom Patrol. He's able to walk again, and there's a sort of thing in his throat that makes it so he throws up every time someone mentions Mr. Nobody. And through a series of events, Kipling is also still around and helping the team out. They find the rewritten book, which is on a cute little dog, oh my gosh, and they say the words, the Recreator is created, and the Recreator and D-Creator have a standoff staring contest. The Recreator wins because also Jane, as Dr. Harrison, rings a bell that gets the Recreator recreated. And so the evil is thwarted, and for a short time, Chief, gets to be able to be with his team for a little bit before he is taken again by Mr. Nobody. And finally, Mr. Nobody, and I guess wanting to speed up the process of Doom Patrol forming as actually Doom Patrol, whispers in the past something in Jane's ear so that Jane remembers it after the end of the world is avoided, which is Doom Patrol. First and foremost, big ups to Jersey. Oh my gosh, as a Jersey girl, when they said 1977 Jersey, I was like, oh my gosh, they're like in my home state right there. And I mean, they didn't really show it in the best light, but no one ever does in media. We get the short end of the stick as Jersey people, but we persevere. I really like this way of how they explored Jane's character a bit more. Like through most of these episodes, we had been getting her as a very central focus, but even then I sort of felt like, yes, we got a central focus on her, but I never felt like we dug deep enough. You know, we got glimpses here and there, but it was more so just kind of a tour through her many personalities. And I think this particular episode, for some reason, it really just kind of showed a deeper layer to her as a character overall. I felt like she felt more cohesive, if that's not even the best word to say because she's so fragmented as a character, right? So here I am saying she's cohesive, but that's how it felt, because even though she was mainly Dr. Harrison for most of the episode, who I really liked, I think this is one of my favorite personalities of Crazy Jane's, is Dr. Harrison. You really got a glimpse of who she was overall. And in that moment when she sees Chief again, and that moment where we see the flashback of how Chief eventually saved her from the loony bin that she was in Jersey, I really just, I felt the connection between her and Chief. Like, there was so much heart in that moment when she sees him in the present, and even in the past where she decides to trust him. I thought it really worked. And it really, at this point, made me sympathize with the character. Not that I felt like they were cramming her down our throat for most of the season so far, but I did feel like, okay, yes, we get it. She has a lot of personalities, but, when are we going to get deeper into the other characters? And for some reason, this episode really made me think, okay, no, I like this. I like this focus on her. I'm fine with it. Also, Chief with the other characters, Vic, Cliff, Larry, Rita, you really saw the very dysfunctional family dynamic between these characters was really driven home, and it didn't feel forced. It was like, they were missing their father in a way, and we already knew that was kind of the deal, like he's kind of their father figure, but it really worked the chemistry between the characters and Chief's individual scenes with them. Even when he has that argument with Vic, you feel this emotion, you feel how much Vic is inspired by him, how much Vic cares about the Chief, and vice versa as well. And it just shows what a great actor the actor who plays Chief is. James Bond, of course, shout out to James Bond franchise. But, it just showed how well this dynamic is with them, that it didn't feel forced. And you almost kind of missed the fact that he's not around for most of this season so far, because of the fact that once he was around, they were able to talk to someone. Even with Larry, like we found out that situation with Larry, of the whole thing of the negative energy in his body, and Chief talking to him about that and what that means, and telling him maybe you should talk to this energy inside of you. And the same thing with Rita. You saw this real fondness that these characters have for this father figure, and it just really worked. Mr. Nobody was hilarious. Oh my gosh, I love this character so hard. He's like meta because he's so self-aware. He breaks the fourth wall, but it actually really works in this universe. I think everyone just dismisses him as being insane that he breaks the fourth wall, but we know better as the viewers. I also love that I said last review, I was like, oh my gosh, Mr. Nobody hasn't been around for like 2 episodes. And he totally mentions it in this episode. He's like, there's no way the world is ending, especially when I haven't been in the last 2 episodes. And I was like, that's right. Exactly. That's exactly what I said. You haven't been around for 2 episodes. The world cannot end because we need more Mr. Nobody. Kipling was a solid character. I enjoyed him in this episode a bit more than I liked him in the last episode. And that was once again this cohesive plot line, or this bond, this common bond that all of these characters have with Chief. And when he had scenes with Chief, it made more sense. I was like, okay, this makes sense, this dynamic that they have. The one drawback I did have was that he conveniently, and I just honestly think this was just like contrived writing, that he couldn't stay to help so that Chief didn't go back with Mr. Nobody. It was like, this dude has been kidnapped for like weeks now. And it's like, well, I would stay around, but that would mean I like you. And Chief's like, I wouldn't expect anything else. And I'm like, you do know you're about to get taken again, right? You're not going to try to have this magician guy, like, of the dark arts help you avoid this? That character of Marilyn was awesome. Oh my gosh, I hope she didn't die. I kind of want her to come back around. I kind of knew when they first focused on young Marilyn that she was going to be an important character, and then older Marilyn was just equally awesome. All those patients that Jane had met was actually really awesome. I love the fact that they were singing and dancing to You Can Ring My Bell. That was was awesome. I think this show relishes in how bizarre it is. And not so much bizarre where it's like, we're just going to throw anything at you and you're just going to be like, yeah, it's bizarre. You just got to accept it even if it's crap. It's like, no, it's bizarre, but it's actually quality writing and plotting. I think the ultimate question now is, what does Mr. Nobody want? Because we also saw that he wanted to, fast forward Doom Patrol becoming a cohesive real team by whispering that into Jane's ear. But what does he get from making them form as a team exactly? So that also just continues this mystery that I have no idea what he wants. There wasn't much romantic ships going on this episode, which I was totally fine with because, like I said, the dynamic with Chief and the rest of the team was just so great that I was really glad that they gave that kind of the main focus in this episode. Although, that thing with Rita and Elliot, I don't know what that was about. I mean, I get that she kind of formed something of a bond with the kid, but he was still very young. And I don't know about you, but I felt like he was about to ask her right before he got raptured if they could have sex. That's what I got. The way he was looking, and I wouldn't put it past this show to make it so that was the case, but she seems to be waiting for him too, because she's kind of hoping that he wasn't raptured. But I don't know what she wants from that exactly. So I'm a little confused on that aspect. So my predictions is that Vic's dad is going to make another appearance, even though Vic is avoiding his phone calls at the moment. I don't know what Vic's dad issue is. It's kind of like, what is going on with that? Where are they going with that in the plot line? Why is it so antagonistic, right? Like, I don't know. I've seen different versions, of course, of Cyborg, and sometimes he gets along really well with his dad. Sometimes he's distant with his dad before the accident, and then they grow close after the accident. And in this particular one, they're making it so that his dad comes off as really shady, and I think we're going to see what that exactly means soon enough. Also, just as an aside, I thought it was very interesting that Jane looked exactly the same way in the 1960s and the 1970s that she does now, which also shows that she's older than what she, appears, which was really interesting because I actually didn't expect that. I thought she was the age that she looked. So that's interesting. And I think maybe that will come into play in future episodes as we dive more into the places that she's been and all her different personalities. It's kind of an anthology, really, if you think about it, because she's had so many different lives probably thus far. With the comic book comparison, I really want to mainly focus on how they defeated the Cult of the Unwritten Book on the show versus how they defeated it in the comic books. So in the comic books, Jane still played a pivotal role in defeating the Creator, but in the comic books, it wasn't necessarily that did that whole timeline history thing of her becoming a different personality and whatnot. It appears, from my understanding, that she figured out that the Creator was more so just a vibration created by God, and that if they kind of countered that vibration, that they would be able to defeat or destroy the Creator. So Jane uses a spiritual tuning fork to make a chime, and that destroys the Creator. Yes, that was how the Creator was defeated in the comic books. Can I just say once again, this comic book series, oh my gosh, this comic series, it was nuts. So it's a little different from the live action of how they did it, which I actually liked the way they did the live action a little bit better, because I think that was not even like it was more elaborate. I felt like it just made more sense than this idea of, oh, we just need a spiritual tuning fork and that'll do it. Now, they still incorporated the idea of her ringing some sort of instrument. In this case, in the live action, it was a bell. In the comic books, it was a spiritual tuning fork. I can't get over that, but it was. So there was some similarities, but ultimately they went a little bit of a different route in the live action versus the comic book series. And my bonus note is, who the heck is this biblical cockroach? Now, mind you, this is something I keep wanting to bring it up in every video that I do, and I always keep forgetting because I'm just like, everything else happens that's even more bizarre, like singing blue horses, that I forget about the thing about the cockroach. But in this episode, they really kind of focused on him so much that I had to make a note, and I was like, I need to find out who the heck this cockroach is. Because, first of all, that scene was super funny with the cockroach and the rat. and how they were talking. And I just love this whole thing with the cockroach thinking it's going to be the one that be the leader after whatever apocalypse it is, which kind of plays into the idea that most people think that if there was like some sort of nuclear bomb or something in the world, that cockroaches would be the ones that are left. Fun fact, cockroaches will probably outlive us. So it turns out that Ezekiel the cockroach is not in the comic books. He's actually a character that was supposed to be on the CW network show Supernatural. But he was rejected. I guess they thought that was too bizarre for Supernatural. And if you think that's random, it's actually not, because the executive producer for Doom Patrol, Jeremy Carver, was actually one of the producers for Supernatural. And so this was his character that he kept trying to get put on Supernatural, but as he said in an interview, kept throwing him out of the room and not allowing the cockroach to make an appearance. So when he took on as the executive producer of Doom Patrol, it made sense, they accepted it, and there we have Ezekiel the cockroach. Which I, for one, am very happy about, because this cockroach is hilarious. And I love those kind of mini scenes that we get that no one is aware is happening. And it totally works. I think it was fate that he got rejected from Supernatural, because his best place is on the Doom Patrol. Alright, so what did you think of the latest episode of DC Universe's Doom Patrol Season 1, Episode 5? Let me know, comment down below. What do you think Mr. Nobody's ultimate plan is? I'm totally lost, so maybe you have some ideas. Let me know, comment down below. And also, be sure to subscribe so that you are the first to know when I post my videos of all things horror, dark fantasy, and dark superhero. Thanks for watching. Let's get creepy together.